The storm rolled over the peaks of the Cascade Range, snow falling in blinding sheets as wind howled through the trees like a pack of ghosts. In the heart of the blizzard, the forest near Timber Ridge was silenced under ice and fear. Deep beneath a gnarled fir tree, half buried in snow, came the softest whimper, a sound nearly swallowed by the storm. Huddled in a hollow carved out by a fallen trunk were 4 newborn German shepherd puppies, their fur matted with ice, their tiny bodies shivering with exhaustion and fear. Their mother, Coda, once the pride of Timber Ridge's search and rescue unit, had given her life just hours before. After leading lost hikers to safety during a sudden avalanche, she had been found curled protectively around them, her body frozen, but her mission fulfilled. Her final act of heroism saved others, but left her own pups alone and exposed. The scent of blood and pine lingered faintly in the air, evidence of her sacrifice, fading with every gust. The puppies whimpered, their cries growing weaker as the cold crept in. They had no warmth, no mother, and no time. But fate hadn't finished with them yet. Not far from the wreckage, Ranger Caleb Stone braved the storm, haunted by Coda's story and drawn by instinct to search again. He didn't know what he would find. He just knew something wasn't over. Beneath the snow, 4 fragile lives were hanging on, and the forest was about to witness a story no one would ever forget. Through the blinding curtain of snow, Ranger Caleb Stone pressed forward, boots crunching over the frost-bitten earth as a low urgency hummed in his chest. The wind shrieked down the ridgeline like a warning, but he didn't turn back. Something was pulling him deeper into the wreckage of the avalanche site, something unfinished. When he reached the twisted base of the fallen fir, he dropped to one knee, his breath catching. There, tucked beneath a sheet of snow and broken branches, 4 trembling puppies clung to one another. Ice clung to their fur. One, the smallest, lay motionless. Caleb's voice broke into a whisper. "Hang on, little ones." With trembling hands, he wrapped them in his jacket, tucking them against his chest. The smallest pup stirred faintly, her breath a whisper of life. Caleb turned, sprinting back through the storm, carving a path of urgency through drifts already swallowing his tracks. His truck skidded across the icy road toward Pine Hollow Sanctuary, where Dr. Elise Monroe, a wildlife rehab specialist, waited with blankets, heating pads, and adrenaline in her eyes. As Caleb burst through the doors, Elise took the bundle from his arms. "This one's fading fast," she said, cradling the runt. "But I've seen miracles before." She placed the pup against her skin, whispering encouragement as she worked. The other 3 were weak, but breathing. The smallest one, though, was on the edge. But Elise refused to let her go. And in that quiet battle against the cold, the story of a legacy and something far wilder had just begun. By dawn, the pups were stable. But the smallest, whom Elise named Ember, clung to life by a thread. Wrapped in warm flannel and tucked into the crook of Elise's arm, she let out faint whimpers, searching for something no human warmth could give. Elise knew they needed more than heat and formula. They needed connection, something primal and familiar. That's when her eyes turned to the sanctuary's most unlikely resident. Tala, a black bear who had been rescued as a cub years ago. Tala was no ordinary bear. Raised by Elise after losing her mother to poachers, she had grown up calm, intuitive, and deeply bonded to the humans around her. But still, she was a bear, formidable, powerful, unpredictable. Introducing her to newborn pups was a risk, but so was doing nothing. That evening, Elise entered Tala's winter enclosure with the pups nestled in a heated basket. Tala stirred from her den, massive yet gentle, blinking sleepily in the golden light. "They need a mother, Tala," Elise whispered, "even if just for a while." One by one, she placed the pups before her. Tala's nose twitched. She huffed softly, then lay down, curling around them in a slow, protective motion. Ember whimpered, and Tala responded with a low, comforting rumble, nudging the tiny pup toward her belly. Elise watched in stunned silence. The bond had begun. An ancient instinct awakened. In that moment, the sanctuary crossed an invisible line. A bear had opened her heart to 4 orphaned dogs, and Ember, against all odds, had found her mother. Within days, the puppies began to stabilize, except Ember. She remained fragile, her tiny breaths shallow, her eyes barely open. Dr. Elise Monroe spent hours by her side, but instinct whispered that Ember needed something more, something no syringe or formula could provide. That's when Elise made a daring decision. She opened the side gate to Tala's enclosure, carrying Ember swaddled in a wool blanket. Tala, the massive black bear who had once survived against every odd, lifted her head at the scent. Her dark eyes were calm, curious. Elise moved slowly, voice low. "She's yours, if you want her." Ember let out a tiny cry, and Tala responded. She lowered her snout, sniffed, then let out a soft, chest-deep huff. Elise placed the pup down and stepped back, heart pounding. Tala's great paw moved forward, not to harm, but to shield. She curled her body protectively, and Ember, like she'd found the missing piece of herself, nestled against the bear's fur. Over the following days, a miracle unfolded. One by one, the other pups were brought in. Tala accepted each with quiet grace, licking their fur, nudging them into her warmth. But it was Ember who clung closest, sleeping beneath Tala's chin, her strength growing with each heartbeat shared. The bond was undeniable. The sanctuary staff watched in awed silence as instinct and love collided in the unlikeliest family. The bear and the pups, especially the runt, had found something ancient, something sacred, a mother not by species, but by soul. And against all logic, Ember began to thrive. Spring crept gently into the Cascade Range, melting snow into wildflower-dotted meadows and breathing life into the sanctuary grounds. Inside Pine Hollow Sanctuary, the once frail pups had blossomed into curious explorers. Oakley bold and bounding, Willow clever and quick, Sage quiet and loyal. But it was Ember, the smallest and once barely breathing, who shone with a quiet strength, never far from Tala's side. The great black bear had become more than a protector. She was their anchor, their guide, their mother. Under her patient watch, the pups learned the rhythms of trust and love across species, curling against her belly at dusk and playing atop her broad back by dawn. As adoption day approached, bittersweet emotions swept through the sanctuary. Carefully screened families arrived, each understanding the story they were becoming part of. Oakley went to a rescue unit in Wenatchee. Willow joined a therapy program for children. Sage became a companion to an elderly veteran who had known loss too well. But Ember stayed. No one could imagine her anywhere else. She belonged to the sanctuary, to Elise, and most of all, to Tala. The two were now symbols of something larger than survival, of chosen family, of healing, of legacy born in the coldest winter. Visitors flocked to see them, drawn by whispers of the bear who mothered puppies. And with every paw step Ember took beside Tala, with every wag of her tail or glance toward the trees, it was clear this was not the end of the story. It was only the beginning. Summer arrived at Pine Hollow Sanctuary with golden light and blooming wildflowers, but something deeper stirred in the quiet corners of the forest. Tala, the black bear who had raised the orphaned pups as her own, had grown slower. Her steps lost their spring, her eyes dulled with fatigue. At first, Elise and Caleb thought it was age, but when she refused her favorite berries and curled into herself for hours, concern turned to alarm. Blood work confirmed a severe respiratory infection, aggressive and dangerous for a bear her size and age. She had to be isolated immediately. The pups, now strong juveniles, watched helplessly as their guardian was led away. Ember, the smallest and closest to Tala, refused to eat. She paced near the enclosure where Tala had last slept, her soft whines echoing like questions with no answers. For days, Tala lay still in the quarantine wing, her breath shallow, her body feverish. Elise sat vigil, reading to her softly, hoping familiarity would heal what medicine could not. Then, miraculously, on the 7th day, Tala shifted. Her nose twitched, her eyes opened. A low, tired rumble vibrated from her chest. Elise wept. 2 days later, Tala was cleared for brief contact. The reunion was silent and sacred. Ember rushed to her, nuzzling into her fur, whining softly. Tala lowered her massive head, touching noses with the pup she had once kept alive with nothing but warmth and instinct. Around them, the forest held its breath. In that moment, it wasn't just survival, it was a return to purpose, a return to love. Years flowed gently through Pine Hollow Sanctuary, like the river that curved around its borders. Quiet, steady, inevitable. The puppies, once trembling lives cradled against death's edge, had long since grown into legends of their own. Oakley became a search and rescue dog like his mother before him, his name etched into local lore after pulling a child from a collapsed cabin. Willow brought joy to an elder care home nestled in the hills, her calm presence easing the fears of the lonely. Sage, always gentle, became a therapy companion in a trauma unit, resting his head on the laps of the grieving. And Ember, tiny Ember, the runt, remained by Luna's side, her bond with the black bear unshakable. But time, even for miracles, does not wait. One crisp autumn morning, Elise found Luna beneath her favorite tree, curled peacefully among fallen leaves. She had passed in her sleep, no struggle, no sound, just a sigh into the earth. The sanctuary mourned. Days later, a bronze statue was unveiled in the heart of the meadow, Luna mid-step, 4 pups at her heels. Years later, Ember too slowed. Her muzzle grayed, her steps shortened, but her spirit remained fiercely bright. When her time came, Elise was there, and beside her, Luna's final resting place. A second statue was raised, Ember seated tall beside Luna, their eyes fixed toward the forest. Beneath it, the plaque read, "She was loved by a bear, and that changed everything." And so, their story lived on, in paw prints, in stone, and in every soul the sanctuary touched. The years softened the edges of the story, but never its impact. Visitors came from every corner of the country to Pine Hollow Sanctuary, drawn by whispers of a black bear who mothered puppies, of a dog who rose from the edge of death, and of a place where nature's laws bent for love. Beneath towering cedars, children pressed their palms to the bronze statues of Luna and Ivy, listening to the tales Elise told with reverence. Ivy's descendants roamed the grounds now, gentle, alert, marked by her quiet strength and Luna's watchful grace. The sanctuary had grown, but its soul remained rooted in that impossible winter. One crisp morning, as golden leaves danced in the wind, Elise walked the perimeter trail, Ivy's granddaughter trotting beside her. They paused by the old tree where Luna had once slept. The wind stirred the grasses, and for a breathless moment, Elise swore she heard it. That soft, echoing whimper that had begun everything. A reminder, a promise. This story was never about loss, not truly. It was about the unexpected families we find, the lives we choose to save, and the way love, pure, instinctual, unbound, rewrites fate. The bond between a bear and a pup had become something immortal. And if this story moved you, if it made you believe in second chances, in wild love, in hope carved from winter's coldest hour, then don't forget to like this video, share it, and help keep Luna and Ivy's legacy alive, because some stories deserve to be remembered forever.